Hi guys, and welcome back to Mummy Cooks Homemade, and this is what we ate last week. Please excuse any sniffling. This was just a mixed salad. What we needed using up, some fresh chicken, some baby potatoes, and there was like a bird's eye chicken thing. Jacket potatoes and Kievs. Yeah, me and Steve's had flu and coughs, and just try and excuse any snuffles such as. That was cheese potato and pie. We had one in the freezer. As you can see, it sort of went everywhere. Again, rabbit food. Cooked a ham that Steve picked up. Some baby potatoes. And some rabbit food. Steve made homemade pizza. I don't like this thick crust. He and the girls had it. I had one of them Mission pizza bases. Have you seen them? The really thin ones. It was really nice. So this stuff that was taken out of the garden for Sunday, and all of it got used. Down to one pot left of potatoes. The beans now are at their end, and we're just drying some of the actual beans themselves to save for next year. I actually wasn't aware that we had red potatoes in the garden. So I'm just chopping up some onion. Did some celery as well. And some mushrooms. The full recipe for this is in the description box. Some beautiful British weather today where we are. It's throwing it down just the way I like it. Most of you know I'm not a fan of summer, so this weather suits me down to the ground. Doesn't suit me kids though, walking to school in it. I threw a parsnip in this and all. Picked out what I could when it comes time to eat it. I don't like parsnip, but Steve does, so. Potatoes didn't turn out too bad from the garden. Just got to get some more cedars now and plant up the next lot. Got me cedar onions, so they're ready to go. They'll go in October. I've still got I've just cleared out one of the chantenay carrots boxes with what you can see there, so I've still got another two. I want to plant some multicoloured carrots for Christmas. Get some cabbages and that planted up as well. Some Brussels sprouts, all the Christmas veg. So these are getting a bit tougher now, but because they're going in the casserole, it won't really a concern. I am taking off the edges. When they're first fresh and they first come through, they're not tough, but they do get quite stringy, so take that off now. Size of that one. These have lasted most of the way through summer. This one plant produced really well. The tomatoes have not done good at all. The tomatoes are there on the thingy, but yeah, they've not turned. cucumbers are coming through. I don't know what type I got actually, because they're prickly. So the potatoes I'm doing today are hasselback potatoes. So I'm just cutting 3/4 of the way down the potato. And taking some of it out. Don't worry about stuff like that, guys. It don't affect the taste of your potato. And that's all you need to do with your potatoes. And I cook these in the air fryer. This is not the normal knife that I use for this. I should have used the usual one. As you can tell by the sound of me, I was lucky they got fed. So there you can see, look, what I've done. And all those gaps in the potato, all the slits, is where I'll put my the oil I make for it, which I do show you, unless Steve's cut it out. So what I'm making is a beef casserole with cheddar scones on top. So this is how I made the cheddar scones. Again, the recipe will be underneath. I scrape it off in little bits like that because it's easier to rub in, and then just make sure I coat the butter so you don't get just a handful of butter. That's the cheese. I did start off grating it on the really small side for the cheese, but yeah, it was taking too long. I got bored, so I switched to the other side. As you can see. These are real fast to make. I made these earlier on in the day because we didn't eat until 6 o'clock. So what I advise is to keep the butter and the cheese cold, is to mix them like I'm doing. Just rub it together, and you'll just use tiny bits of milk to bring it together finally. To make them, and then just pop them in the fridge and keep them cold. Because when you go to put them on top of your casserole, you want them to be cold. And the heat then will make them expand when it hits the cold butter. Just using little drops of milk. You've got to be careful not to overdo it. You don't want this sticky. And I'm trying not to melt that them pieces of butter, so I'm just starting with a fork. You can see I'm not going mad there with the milk. Just test with your hand whether it's going to come together. Just wrap it with cling film, pop it in the fridge, and then that's done and out of the way. That was the last bit of milk I needed just to bring up them bits at the bottom there. I'm not going to try and make this into a really smooth ball. I want my hands off it preferably as soon as possible so it stays cold and the butter don't melt. So I'll just transfer that to a small dish and wrap it in cling film, pop it in the fridge. So I'm using 700 grams of diced beef here. You're just going to cook this off until it's changed in colour. So yeah, I didn't make a pudding yesterday. I just couldn't be bothered. I spent 2 days of sleeping on and off before I did this. So it wasn't really a very productive week, to be perfectly honest. But it is what it is. Getting some garlic. Of course, if you don't like garlic, don't put it in. Worcestershire sauce. I don't personally think there's a good substitute for Worcestershire sauce. But if you don't like it, don't put it in. All the amounts will be below. So now I'm just going to soak up all that liquid, cook off this flour. This is what's going to thicken your casserole. So I'm using 2 beef stock pots here in a moment, and 800 ml of hot water into those. Don't forget, any vegetables you add into this is going to release its water. And I'm going to add into this as well some marmite or yeast extract, whichever one you've got. Honestly, I can't stand this stuff, but it does make a nice difference in this. So just a heaping teaspoon. Just trust me, guys. Honestly, it's not gonna like be overwhelmed with the taste of marmite or anything. Nice dark colour to it as well. So watch what happens. Watch the bottom. It's spread. Oh, it doesn't show you properly, but it's spread out the bottom. I was wondering why it wasn't coming out the top. There's the rest of it, look. Oh dear. Sure you cook off that flour. Once you add your liquid in, you can bring up all them bits off the bottom of the pan. And you'll start to see within about a minute it'll start to thicken. I've got celery and onion that I chopped earlier, that's going in. So I chuck in all my vegetables. There's the mushrooms. Don't have to be chestnut mushrooms. Regular white butter mushrooms will be fine. Just make sure you get all the bits off the bottom of the pan. So in goes that parsnip and the beans, and then the carrots. And this is where I'll add in all my herbs and such. Parsley. Basil. Celery salt. Mixed herbs. Nothing dramatic, just stuff that most people have in their herb drawer or cupboard. See, that 700 grams of diced beef is a good ratio really here. I'm glad the weather's changed. I can start bringing this pot back out now. That's them beans from inside the what do you call it? Pod, whatever. All I'm going to do now is switch it down to the lowest setting, which is a simmer, and not fully. Put the lid on. I'm going to set it for an hour. So you can see all that liquid that's been released by the vegetables. Obviously the meat's not cooked after simmering for an hour, so I give it a good stir, make sure the bottom's clear, nothing's stuck to the bottom, then I simmer it for another hour. And then if the meat's tender enough, it goes into the oven for the last part. So it's just gone into the oven now, with the lid on gas 4. I'm going to put the potatoes on. So I've got some oil, garlic, some black pepper and salt, and parsley. That's me whacking it. You will come out. That was onion powder. So it's very simple. All you're going to do is brush. That's the top. So put all the slit ends to the top. I'm going to put them all in now, and then I'm going to brush this mixture over the top of all of them. And every time I come in to check the potatoes, because I'm going to start them off on a low temperature to make sure that the potatoes cook all the way through, and I'm going to just baste them with this, because eventually as it cooks it's going to open up, and then this flavour is going to get inside the potato, into each slice that you made into that potato. Not a time consuming process, takes about a minute to dab it on. So the first round I used all this and then made another small batch, and that was enough to just dab on every time I checked on the potatoes. So I'm just putting these in. See, I took it straight from the fridge. And watch the difference. You can see the size of these. Putting it into the oven for 20 minutes with the lid on. Then I'm going to take the lid off. There they are. Just cooking like, and that's how much they spread in the pan. And the potatoes just cook like they do, is like they are on a baking tray basically. So there it is. Those lovely crispy hasselback potatoes, the casserole, the cheddar scones, and a little Yorkshire pudding on the side. So hopefully you watched this all the way through and enjoyed it. Another recipe for you to try. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share if you can, hit the notification bell, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.